who would have supported him in his efforts to make peace with Israel. He chose to be in that position, so he knew from the beginning that he is going to be in this position, and using that as a failure to put pressure on the Israelis to move forward is not acceptable. The other major issue, I think, is what do we as Palestinians and Arabs have as an alternative? I mean, this is the biggest question that I myself face when I go around and talk to members of the Palestinian community or with Arabs. What are you going to do? I mean, if this process, if the negotiations fail, what are you going to do? And I think this is being debated right now within the Palestinian society, within the Palestinian leadership, in coordination and consultation with the Arab countries, because if for the last 17 years this process did not produce but 500,000 settlers and more settlements in the West Bank, and Israeli facts on the ground that are aimed at making the realization of an independent Palestinian state impossible, then what is the sense of continuing in this track? This is the biggest question that we are being faced right now. And we have tried in the past to give answers. We want to give a chance. We want to continue. But today, I think we are at a juncture that we really need to contemplate and explore other venues, of course, short of violence, to try to deal with this issue. And this debate is ongoing. It's a serious debate, and it will be important to determine the next step on the part of the Palestinian and the Arabs in general. I just want to allude to an issue that the speakers here mentioned, which is donor support, the economic conditions, funding the Palestinian Authority. I think a lot of people here are mixing or deliberately trying to portray the government plan of Prime Minister Fayyad as an economic security alternative to resolving the conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians. The plan of the Palestinian government, which is the government of President Mahmoud Abbas, is to work in parallel with the political track to put an end to the Israeli occupation at the same time that we are building our institutions and increasing and capacities. It was never meant to be an alternative to the political solution. So, yes, we are grateful for the support of the international community. We are grateful for the support of all our friends. But I think we should not be distracted from the real issue that the Israeli military occupation is the cause of most, I'm not going to say all, most of the economic problems that the Palestinians are facing. Once that occupation is over, we will be able to be dependent on ourselves, and we will not need support from any other donor countries. The areas you alluded that are controlled by the Israelis actually is 61% of the West Bank is totally controlled by the Israelis as part of Area C, which the Palestinians have no access to it, and 17% is Area A under total Palestinian control, and Area B, which consists of 21%, is security under Israeli control and civilian under Palestinian control, which actually makes almost 83% of the West Bank today under total Israeli control. Thank you very much.
Because we have 6 speakers on this panel session and issue, in the next one we have 3. I hope the 3 in the next one will beg our indulgence that we receive the gift that we hope that you will present of 10 minutes from your time to lengthen the time for answering questions on this one. Secondly, one of the questions says, I'm surprised or disappointed at the lack of foresight and ability on the part of the National Council not to have a more balanced set of speakers. Well, one can say that there's an absence of foresight and ability on the part of the individual who asked the question as to the efforts made to have a number of alternate or additional speakers on this panel, and the number who turned us down. We're not in the hostage-taking business of forcing people to come for the sake of balance. Secondly, balance is in the eye of the beholder. And in this particular case, of course, none of us are bereft of blemish. No one's devoid of defect. No one's free of flaws. And in this case, there is a degree of balance of another kind. There are 2 Jews, there are 2 Christians, there are 2 Muslims amongst the 6 presenters here. And this reflects the reality of the Holy Lands being the epicenter of prayer and pilgrimage, of faith and spiritual devotion to fully a fifth of humanity. And there's balance of another kind in the sense that we have 3 government representatives and 3 non-governmental representatives. So we have a balance of a different kind there. What we're going to do is Mr. Corcoran will read a number of the questions, and I will read a number of them, and the speakers can answer whichever ones they want. Those that don't get answered, we will post them to the speakers and have them answer them subsequently, and we'll post the answers on the National Council's website. And if we have the emails of everyone's here, we'll provide you with answers to all of them. Mr. Corcoran.
My apologies to some of you if we don't read your exact question, but there are several of the issues that overlap, so we'll somehow combine them. This would be open to anyone, please. What are the implications of the movement to formally declare Israel a Jewish state? Will this increase or decrease the likelihood of trying to reach a peace agreement between the Palestinian Authority and the government of Israel? Let me read a few others, please. What are the possibilities that the Palestinian Authority might simply issue a unilateral declaration of independence, creating a Palestinian state first and then fleshing out the details and expanding the area of control? What elements are necessary to create a peace settlement that can be sold to the people of Israel and the Palestinian people of Fatah and Hamas? Is the Rafah crossing in Egypt still closed? If yes, why? And are the Egyptians willing to reconsider this, considering their affinity to the Palestinian people? And then also, if someone could comment on how do you see the Israeli embargo on Gaza Strip changing, especially related to the economy? What will be the results short-term and long-term of destroying the Gazan economy? Why don't we start with those questions, and please, if some of the speakers or commentators would like to respond.
Well, maybe, if you allow me, maybe I'll just address the issue of Rafah because it's a clear-cut one. The direct answer to the question, no, it is not closed. It hasn't been closed for several months, and at no time was it fully closed. The crossing at Rafah has been constantly open to address the humanitarian needs of the population in Gaza out of Egypt's consideration of the dire circumstances that the people of Gaza are in, and in view of the very long and strong relations that bind us to the Palestinian people at large, and those in Gaza particularly, since they are immediately adjacent to Egyptian territory. The crossing has been regulated to guarantee the flow of humanitarian assistance, to guarantee the security and safety of both Gaza and Egyptian territory, and also as not to give any false pretext to the Israeli government that it can discount its responsibilities under international law for the well-being of the population under occupation in Gaza. On all of those counts, the Egyptian government has acted with a considerable amount of understanding and, at the same time, political expediency to preserve the rights of the Palestinian people and to, at the same time, contend with their humanitarian needs. There has been also the issue of illicit trade into Gaza, which has also complicated somewhat the issue of the border crossing. And it should be noted that the border crossing at Rafah is regulated by an agreement with the Palestinian Authority, the Israeli government, and the European Union, and its operation is purely for the transfer of human beings and not a commercial crossing. It wasn't established and it is not equipped to be a commercial crossing, but has been utilized for tons and tons of humanitarian assistance with great difficulty from a logistic perspective. But it is the 7 other crossings which should bear the majority of the influx of assistance and trade into Gaza. Thank you.
In order to have the adrenaline of the other speakers pumping a bit more here, let me just throw out additional ones so that they can be thinking of them. There's long been complaint without action on the pro-Israeli lobby on their ability to have pro-Israeli Americans petitioning their government through their rights in the First Amendment, etc. Why don't pro-Palestinian Americans take this blueprint and do the same? Another one, if the two-state solution is dead, as one must conclude from the speaker's remarks, then the one-state solution is the default answer. Yet, for obvious reasons, that solution is not viable. If so, what is the solution? What is the alternative to the various solutions that have been proposed? And no one, in terms of the bleak nature of your views on the prospects for any improvement in the lives of the Palestinians in the foreseeable futures, refers to the possibility of renewed violence and new intifada. Why is that? Given the economic status of Gaza, why cannot wealthy Arab countries lead the way in investing? Why does it have to be the West? There is an opportunity not taken. Yes? No? And good Ambassador Shukri provides some specifics regarding Egyptian efforts to reconcile Hamas and Fatah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'd like to address the very first question a while ago on what are the implications of the Israeli move to ask the Palestinians to recognize Israel, and I guess the rest of the world too, Israel as a specifically Jewish state. I think in actuality this just puts a fine point on what Zionism is all about and has been from the beginning. Zionism is the political philosophy that holds that Israel is a state, a Jewish state, a state for the Jewish people. This is why the Palestinians were dispossessed in 1948 and again partially in 1967, because Zionism and the move to create a Jewish state basically has no room in it for non-Jews. The implications for the Palestinians in this current move to make this an explicit demand is that it is asking the Palestinians to legitimize their dispossession, to legitimize the discrimination against Palestinians who are citizens of Israel, to legitimize the refugee status or the exile status of Palestinians who lived in Palestine until 48 and were dispossessed, until 67 and were dispossessed. And I think it's just an impossible demand. It's like demanding that the United States be recognized as a white Christian nation. It's just outrageous.
Can I just add a little bit on this particular question? I think we look at it as a political maneuver by Prime Minister Netanyahu. Once again, you know, the Israelis are negotiating with themselves. They are not negotiating with us. They are not negotiating with the international community. He is trying to appeal to the extreme right-wing elements in his government and his society. The issue of the Jewishness of the State of Israel was never brought up in any of the previous agreements that they signed with Jordan and with Egypt. For us, the Palestinians, we have recognized the State of Israel in 1993 when we exchanged the letters of recognition, mutual recognition. We recognized Israel, Israel recognized the PLO, and we even took a step further in 1998 when we convened the Palestine National Council in the presence of President Clinton to revoke all the clauses in the Palestinian National Charter that referred to Israel as a